Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Good morning to you all. Here we are with the latest Manchester United transfer news, giving out that real fan opinion on all the latest Manchester United transfer news. We'll be talking about Martial, Malcolm, Willian. But first of all, let's talk about Martial. Spurs, this has been reported. I saw it in the Daily Mail, although there is some London outlets putting it out there as well, that Pochettino is looking to spend a large proportion of his £100 million transfer budget on Anthony Martial, and talks could start as early as next week. I've told you this before about Anthony Martial. It's not done and dusted. He's not signed a new contract yet. He didn't go to the World Cup because of signing Sanchez in January. He has been treated fairly badly, whatever. It's not gone the way it should have done for him from January till the end of the season under Mourinho. I still think there's a big question mark there. Everyone will know I'm a massive fan of Anthony Martial. I want him to be at the club for the next 10 years. I want him to be a great, like I believe he can be. But the big sticking point here is the way that Martial and Mourinho's relationship on the pitch has worked. And Mourinho doesn't trust Martial. And why should Martial trust Mourinho with his development? I don't think it's run its course at all. I think it could go until Martial signs a new contract. I think it could go. We keep hearing different things. It was only a couple of weeks ago we heard that Mourinho's trying to get the board to persuade the board to sell Martial, and the board don't want to sell Martial because they're fearful that at his age he's going to come back and haunt United and go on to great things, as many United fans who like Martial think they can have. Take a deep breath. But that's just paper talk. Paper talk either way, I'm not going to believe. I'm not going to believe the Spurs are in for him. I'm not going to believe Mourinho wants to sell him. All we can look at is the facts in front of us, and Martial was brilliant up until January. Then we signed Sanchez and he went bad. And maybe that was because Mourinho lost confidence in him for whatever reason, and maybe it was because Martial lost confidence in the manager. I think Martial could leave. I said it at the end of the season. I think he will leave. I don't want him to go. I'll be absolutely ecstatic if he stays. And I tell you what, I'm sure at Spurs he'd be a revelation in that style of play. I'm sure he'd be brilliant at Liverpool. I'm sure he'd be brilliant at City. But are we realistic? Chelsea as well. Are we realistically going to sell him to a rival? I don't think we will. I think Juventus is always mentioned. I hope he signs the new contract. I agree with a lot of people, even though I think it's pie in the sky. Why don't we sign him on a new contract, loan him out to a decent team for a year or two, and then when Mourinho's gone, get him back at United? That's the ideal, but I don't think it's a reality. So we'll have to see with Martial. I think it's going to run and run, but I haven't jumped on this, he's going to stay, because I am still very concerned that he will leave Manchester United. One player that won't be coming to Manchester United is Malcolm. This was floating around a little bit yesterday, that Malcolm linked to Manchester United, and the good old people at Sport Witness went and did a little bit of investigation on this as to why Manchester United were linked with Malcolm, because last night, Di Marzio was talking about how he's going to Inter. Now, if you don't know about Malcolm, he was linked to Manchester United around in the January transfer window. Plays for Bordeaux, Brazilian. Fred Malcolm. It's like it's a good full name, isn't it? But anyway, got a lovely shot on him. Done very well at Bordeaux. I sort of said in January, he could be brilliant, but is he really what United need to go for? And I would stick by that now. Certainly don't think we need... If we're signing an attacker, as I've said, it's got to be a Griezmann, a Bale, a Ronaldo, a Dybala. We don't need another player that needs development, because we've seen with Rashford, we've seen with Martial, that doesn't necessarily go well under Mourinho. So I don't think we're in for Malcolm, and it turns out we never really were. Sport Witness went looking around to see what this was all about, and effectively they traced it back to, I think it was Sky Sports and Manchester Evening News. And what it was, they found on the Manchester Evening News there was an article about odds on players going to United, and there was a little bit from a betting company, I think it was, saying what the odds were for Malcolm to go to United, and that was it. And a little bit of an insight into that for you, because we have a website, and we don't put a lot of stuff on the website, to be honest, but we do have one. And every now and again we have been approached by betting companies asking us to put articles that they've written on the website. And what it will be is basically it's got links to their website on it with the betting odds. So I don't know where they get these stories from. I don't know whether there's any credibility in them, but there's certainly the Malcolm thing doesn't really. It seems to be built on sand, and there's a lot of water on it. So don't believe it. There's nothing to suggest that we're in for Malcolm from any credible journalist. Willian has spoken about Fred. Obviously, he's now a Manchester United player, which is absolutely fantastic news. So he's spoken about Fred, and what he said is that he's gone to one of the best teams in the world. He's a great young talent, and he's going to do well. Well, he is a young talent compared to Willian, because Willian's 30 this summer. Fred is 25. But a lot of people will start talking about Willian again. Willian always speaks positively about Mourinho, and because of that, Manchester United. And in relation to Fred, he's spoken about Manchester United again. There's not been anything about his move. The obvious situation with Willian is that he obviously wasn't very happy with Conte at Chelsea at the end of last season, well rumoured, but Conte probably is not going to be Chelsea's manager next season. And for Willian, he's got a World Cup to come. He's an important part of that Brazilian first team for the World Cup. And realistically, he goes on the World Cup, he focuses on Brazil, he has a good time, he maybe wins a World Cup, and then he comes back and sorts out his club future. I don't think Willian's club future is anything that's going to be resolved in the next week and a half before the World Cup starts. And when the World Cup starts, he ain't going to be thinking about club moves, is he? So, Willian to United, I think Willian to United could happen, but I think going back to what we were talking about Martial there, it's got to go through the circle, hasn't it? It's got to go through that circle of life, I suppose, where is Martial going to be kept? If Martial's not kept, who's a replacement? And I think what Mourinho knows with Willian, a bit like with Matic last year, because Matic joined us, I think we were already on tour when we got Matic. I don't think he played on the tour in US. If you sign Willian, you can sign Willian a week before the start of the season. He's Premier League proven. Mourinho knows him. He puts him into his team. It's not really a signing that we need to be desperately going after in June. Willian could be done right towards the end of the transfer window if we need to do that deal, because Mourinho knows what he's getting for him. I think we could end up in a scenario where we maybe take 60, 70, 80 million for Martial and then we signed Willian for 40. And Mourinho would be absolutely ecstatic with that, because he gets a player who he knows, who he likes, who will do the job he wants, which is flair and attack, but lots of defence. From my point of view, would I like Martial to go and Willian come in? No. 22 years of old, 22 years of age is Martial, and he can be one of the world's best players. Willian's 30. He's not going backwards. He's 30, and he's a good player, but he's another short-term one. And I don't want Willian at Manchester United. I do like Willian, and I've always spoken positively about Willian, but I don't want him at Manchester United for Martial. But that deal could happen towards the end of the summer. Let's wait and see with that. Might get some news today about Fellaini. Are Arsenal interested? Something about PSG. They've always been interested. AC Milan, Turkey. The reality is Fellaini's going to be going, and he's got a week until the World Cup. Does he want to risk going into the World Cup? He has been quite injury prone for the last 6 months. Go into the World Cup. He's obviously going to be up for it. He is a combative guy. Do his cruciate ligament in, and then sign the contract with United. That's the worst case scenario, isn't it, for everybody? But what he'll probably want to do is get his contract sorted out with a new club. And he will. He's even said he'll go to China. So that could happen very soon. Dalot, obviously, should be announced today. We'll go live when that happens, obviously. Formality or not, we can talk about Dalot. And also, I just wanted to talk about Fred very briefly, because obviously a lot of people have spoken about Fred. But it's nice, isn't it? We've got another player in the World Cup now. I don't think he's going to get used in the World Cup a lot, but a lot can change when it comes to the World Cup, and it'll be good to see whether he does get used. So positive about that. Another United player in the World Cup. Hopefully we'll get a few glimpses of him. Makes it watching Brazil a little bit more interesting. He is a peripheral squad midfielder, but who knows what could happen. I think he offers something very, very different. So hopefully we'll see a bit of Fred in the World Cup. So give us your thoughts. What are your thoughts? I mean, the headline is Martial. What are you confident Martial's going to stay? I've seen a lot of people talking about it, saying they are confident he's going to stay. Are you confident Martial's going to stay? Malcolm, obviously, I mean, did you ever want him? That's not going to happen. And Willian, if Martial was to go, or if we're going to bring a player, I mean, what about this? Martial stays, would you still like Willian to come in? Because he's a right midfielder. I mean, that's a different scenario. My thoughts? Well, you give your thoughts and I'll reply to some of your comments. Thanks everyone for watching. Drop a like on the video. We'll be live again at some point with Dalot, and 8 o'clock again tonight. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.